My parents let my sister take the credit and ruin me. Years later, they deeply regretted it. They say blood is thicker than water, but nobody mentions what happens when your own blood tries to drown you. My name is Nora, and I learned that lesson at 17 when I watched my parents hand my future to my sister on a silver platter, literally. Congratulations, Amanda, Regional Science Fair champion. The banner stretched across our living room in suburban Denver like a victory flag. Mom had ordered a cake from King Soopers. Dad popped open champagne. The Denver Post photographer snapped pictures of Amanda holding my trophy. Smile, Nora, Mom whispered, nudging me into the frame. This is a family celebration. I smiled. I always smiled. That's what the quiet, responsible daughter does. But inside, I was screaming. 3 months earlier, I'd spent every weekend in our garage building a solar-powered water purification system from scratch. I'd burned through my babysitting money buying materials from Home Depot. I'd stayed up until 2 a.m. perfecting the filtration process, testing pH levels, documenting everything in neat handwriting that would make my teachers proud. Amanda had been too busy with her boyfriend Jake and varsity cheerleading to notice, until the night before the science fair deadline. Nora, honey, Dad had said, appearing in the garage doorway with Amanda trailing behind him. We need to talk. Amanda's eyes were red. She'd been crying, her specialty when she wanted something. Tell her, Daddy, she sniffled. Dad cleared his throat. Your sister's having some academic challenges this semester. Her GPA dropped, and she might lose her spot on the honor roll. Okay, I said, not understanding why this was my problem. The thing is, Mom chimed in, wringing her hands, Amanda needs the science fair win for her college applications. You know how competitive it is for her generation. My generation was apparently different. Less important. But this is my project, I said quietly. Technically, Dad said, you're both Henderson girls. What matters is that our family succeeds. Amanda stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. Please, Nora. I'll make it up to you. I promise. I just need this one thing. She always needed just one thing. And somehow, I always gave it to her. Think about it, Mom added. You're naturally smart. You'll have plenty of opportunities. But Amanda, she needs more support. The unspoken message was clear, you're strong enough to handle disappointment. She isn't. So I handed over my project, my research, my 3 months of work. Amanda spent 2 days memorizing my notes and won first place. The scholarship offer came 6 weeks later. Full ride to Colorado State University. For years, everything paid for. The letter was addressed to Amanda Henderson, Regional Science Fair champion. I found her in her room, holding the acceptance packet. This should be mine, I said. She looked up, and for a split second, I saw something that might have been guilt. Then her face hardened. But it's not, she said. It's mine now. That night at dinner, I tried one last time. I want to apply to Colorado State too. I'll take out loans. Dad set down his fork. Nora, be realistic. We can't afford 2 college tuitions. Amanda is already committed. But I earned that scholarship. Amanda earned it, Mom said firmly. She presented the project. With my research. My work. My future. Enough, Dad's voice cut through the room like a blade. This family doesn't air its dirty laundry. Amanda is going to college, and that's final. You should be proud that your sister is succeeding, thanks to you. Thanks to me. Those 4 words broke something inside me that had been cracking for years. That night, I packed everything that mattered into 2 suitcases. I left a note on my pillow, gone to build my own future. Don't look for me. I walked out of that house at 3 a.m. and never looked back. They taught me that family meant sacrifice. What they didn't teach me was that sometimes you have to sacrifice the family. The Greyhound bus smelled like stale coffee and broken dreams. I had $340 in cash, 2 suitcases, and absolutely no plan. Next stop, Portland, the driver called out. Portland sounded far enough away. The first month was hell. I slept on a friend of a friend's couch until she got tired of me eating her Lucky Charms. Then it was a weekly motel that charged by the day and had mysterious stains on everything. I worked double shifts at Denny's, where the manager had wandering hands and customers left quarters as tips. You look like college material, said Rosa, the night cook, sliding me a plate of leftover pancakes. What are you doing here? Surviving, I said, too tired to explain the whole story. Surviving ain't living, Mija. She was right, but surviving was all I could manage. I found a studio apartment in a neighborhood where sirens were lullabies and rent was $450 a month. The shower barely worked, the heat was a suggestion, and my neighbors included a guy who practiced electric guitar at 2 a.m. and a woman who collected stray cats. But it was mine. I picked up a second job at Powell's Books near Portland State University. Watching students complain about their organic chemistry homework while I rang up their $300 textbooks was torture. But the employee discount helped me buy used books on environmental science. You read this stuff for fun? Asked Marcus, my coworker, flipping through my copy of Silent Spring. Knowledge is power, I said. Knowledge is expensive, he laughed. That's why I dropped out. But I couldn't drop out of something I'd never been allowed to start. The community garden changed everything. I'd found it by accident, walking home from my night shift at Denny's. It was tucked between two abandoned lots, a small patch of green in a concrete desert. Even at 6 a.m., people were there planting, watering, talking in hushed voices like they were sharing secrets. You lost. A woman with dirt under her fingernails and fire in her eyes looked up from a tomato plant. Just curious, I said. Curiosity is dangerous around here, she grinned. I'm Carmen. You look like you need coffee. She poured me a cup from a thermos that had seen better decades. The coffee was strong enough to wake the dead. What is this place? Community garden, food justice project, revolution in progress. Carmen shrugged. Depends on who's asking. I'm Nora, and I'm asking because I want to help. Help costs nothing. Commitment costs everything. She studied my face. Which one are you offering? Both. That was 6 months ago. Now I spent every free moment at the garden, learning about soil pH and companion planting and how to write grant proposals that didn't sound like begging. You've got a gift for this, Carmen said, reviewing my latest funding application. Ever think about making it official? What do you mean? Night classes. Environmental science program at Portland Community College. I know the professor, she owes me a favor. The application fee was $50. I had $73 in my checking account. I can't afford. Scholarship applications due next week. You write it, I'll submit it. Why would you do that? Carmen looked up from her laptop. Because you remind me of me 10 years ago. Angry, brilliant, and convinced the world was against you. The world is against me. Then change the world. The scholarship came through, partial tuition, enough to get started. I enrolled in 2 classes, Introduction to Environmental Science and Grant Writing for Nonprofits. Professor Williams was tough but fair. She pushed us to think bigger than recycling bins and Earth Day cleanups. Environmental justice isn't about hugging trees, she said during our first lecture. It's about power. Who has it, who doesn't, and what we're willing to do about it. After class, I stayed behind. I want to do more than just pass your class, I told her. More how? I want to change things. Really change them. She smiled. Then you're in the right place. That night, I was scrolling through Facebook when Amanda's face popped up on my feed. She was at some networking event, holding a champagne glass and smiling that practice smile she'd perfected in high school. The caption read, excited to announce the launch of Green Tech Solutions, bringing innovative environmental technology to the masses. #entrepreneur, #sustainability, #girlboss. I clicked through to her company website. Buzzwords everywhere. Revolutionary water purification systems. Cutting-edge environmental solutions. Award-winning founder. My water purification system. My research. My work, repackaged with venture capital funding and a marketing budget. The About the Founder page made my blood boil. Amanda Henderson discovered her passion for environmental science in high school, where her award-winning solar water purification project earned statewide recognition. She was still stealing from me 3 years later. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Carmen. Her response came back in seconds. Time to build something bigger than her lies. She was right. Amanda could have my past, but she wasn't getting my future. That future started now. Bloom, Carmen said, writing the letters on a napkin at our favorite diner. Building lives, opportunities, and organic movements. That's either brilliant or terrible, I said, stirring my coffee. All the best ideas sound terrible at first. She grinned. Remember when I suggested you apply for that scholarship? 6 months had passed since then. I'd finished my first semester with a 4.0 GPA while working 3 jobs. My grant writing class had turned into an internship with Professor Williams, who connected me with local environmental groups desperate for funding help. We've got $500 in seed money, Carmen continued. Rosa donated it from her tip jar. Rosa from Denny's. She believed in us. Question is, do you? I looked around the diner at Rosa refilling coffee cups, at the construction workers grabbing breakfast before their shifts, at the single mom counting change to pay for her daughter's pancakes. These were the people who lived with environmental injustice every day: polluted air, contaminated water, food deserts. I'm in, I said. Good, because I already filed the paperwork. Bloom started in Carmen's living room. Our first office was a card table covered in grant applications, community surveys, and empty pizza boxes. Our first program was a workshop series, Green Skills for Real Life. Nobody's going to come, I said, setting up folding chairs in the community center basement. They'll come, Carmen said. You just have to give them a reason. 12 women showed up to our first workshop. 12 became 20. 20 became 50. I never thought I could understand this science stuff, said Maria, a single mom from the neighborhood. But when you explain it like it affects my kids' health, it makes sense. That's the point, I told her. Environmental science isn't just for people in lab coats. The workshops grew. We added sessions on urban gardening, water testing, air quality monitoring. I taught women how to read EPA reports, how to petition city council, how to demand answers when their children developed asthma at twice the national rate. You're a natural teacher, Professor Williams told me after observing one of my sessions. Have you considered graduate school? Graduate school felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. Bloom was growing faster than we could handle. But then the breakthrough came. The Morrison Foundation grant was our moonshot, $750,000 for innovative environmental justice programs. I spent 2 weeks crafting that application, documenting every success story, every life changed. We got it, Carmen said, waving the acceptance letter. All of it. Suddenly, we had real office space, computers, a budget for programming. I quit 2 of my 3 jobs and threw myself into Bloom full-time. I want to expand the workshop model, I told our new board of directors. Train women to become environmental advocates in their own communities. Ambitious, said Dr. Rodriguez, our board chair, but ambitious gets results. The From Overlooked to Overcome a workshop series was my baby. I poured everything into it, every slight, every dismissal, every time someone had told me I wasn't enough. Raise your hand if someone ever told you to be realistic about your dreams, I said to a room of 30 women. Every hand went up. Now raise your hand if you believed them. Most hands stayed up. That's what we're here to change. The workshops went viral, not online, but in the way that mattered. Word of mouth, woman to woman, mother to daughter. Bloom's reputation spread through communities that had been ignored by mainstream environmental groups. You should give a TED Talk, suggested Isabella, our newest intern. She was 22, brilliant, and reminded me of myself at that age, if I'd had opportunities. I'm not TED Talk material. Says who? Says everyone who's ever mattered in my life. Maybe it's time to stop listening to them. The TEDx application was a long shot, local event, small audience, but still. The theme was Voices Rising, and they wanted speakers who represented underrepresented perspectives. Environmental justice through community empowerment, I wrote in my proposal. How overlooked voices can lead the climate conversation. They accepted me. The day of the talk, I stood backstage in a red dress I'd bought with my first Bloom paycheck. My hands were shaking. You've got this, Carmen said, adjusting my microphone. Just talk to them like you talk to the women in your workshops. I walked onto that stage and saw 200 faces looking back at me. For a second, I was 17 again, watching Amanda accept my award. Then I opened my mouth. They told me to be realistic about my dreams, I began. So I got realistic about changing the world instead. The talk lasted 18 minutes. By the time I finished, half the audience was on their feet. The video hit 100,000 views in the first week, then 500,000, then 1 million. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Interview requests, speaking opportunities, partnership proposals. Bloom's website crashed from traffic. "We're not grassroots anymore," Carmen said, scrolling through emails. "We're a movement." That's when the message appeared in my inbox. Subject: "We need to talk, Amanda." I stared at the screen for 5 minutes before opening it. "Saw your little speech online. Cute. We should catch up. I have some things to tell you about your success." "Call me." My success was in quotes. Like it was fake. Like it didn't count. Some things never change. I deleted Amanda's email without responding. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. 3 days later, I was scrolling Twitter when I saw it: Green Tech Solutions founder under investigation for fraud. My coffee went cold as I read the article. Amanda's company had collapsed overnight. Investors were claiming she'd misrepresented her technology, inflated her credentials, and spent funding on personal expenses instead of research and development. "Holy shit," Carmen said, reading over my shoulder. "Your sister's company is toast." The house of cards was finally falling. The details kept getting worse. Amanda had promised revolutionary water purification systems to investors, but the technology didn't work. The prototypes were faulty. The patents she claimed to own belonged to other companies. She'd burned through $3 million in 18 months with nothing to show for it. "Look at this," Isabella said, pulling up another article on her laptop. "She's trending on LinkedIn, and not in a good way." The comments were brutal. Former employees calling her incompetent. Investors demanding their money back. Environmental groups distancing themselves from her greenwashing practices. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number: "This is all your fault. Call me." She was blaming me. For what? Carmen grabbed my phone. Being successful while she was committing fraud. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Mom's number. I hadn't spoken to my parents in 4 years. My finger hovered over the decline button. "Answer it," Carmen said. "You need to hear this." "Hello, Mom." "Nora." Her voice was shaky, older than I remembered. "Thank God you picked up. What do you want?" "It's about Amanda. She's in trouble. I saw the news." "Then you know how bad it is. The lawyers, the investigators, the reporters calling the house. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof." "That's unfortunate." "Nora, please. We need you to come home. Just to talk to your sister. She's not handling this well." "Not handling what well?" "Getting caught. She made some mistakes." "Mistakes?" I stood up, pacing around Bloom's office. "Mom, she defrauded investors. She lied about having technology that didn't exist. Those aren't mistakes. That's criminal behavior. She's your sister. She stopped being my sister the day she stole my future." Silence on the other end. "We know you're angry about the science fair thing, but..." "The science fair thing?" My voice cracked. "You mean when you gave away my scholarship? When you told me to be proud that she was succeeding thanks to me?" "That was different. You were both so young." "I was young. She was a thief. And apparently, she still is." "Please, Nora. Just come home. We can work this out as a family." "I have a family. It's not you." I hung up and immediately blocked the number. "Damn," Isabella whispered. "That was ice cold." "That was necessary," Carmen corrected. "They only call when they need something." The next morning, I was reviewing grant applications when our receptionist buzzed my office. "Nora, there are some people here to see you. They say they're your parents." My stomach dropped. "Tell them I'm not available." I tried. "They're not leaving. They're sitting in the lobby." I looked out my office window. Dad's silver Honda was parked illegally in front of our building. Through the glass doors, I could see Mom pacing while Dad sat rigid in one of our waiting chairs. "Want me to call security?" Carmen asked. "No. Let's get this over with." I walked into the lobby. Dad looked older, grayer. Mom had lost weight, and her hands shook as she clutched her purse. Nora. Mom started. You look wonderful. So professional. What do you want? Dad stood up. We came to talk about Amanda. About the family. There's nothing to talk about. She's lost everything, Mom said, tears starting. Her house, her car, her reputation. The lawyers say she might face criminal charges. Good. How can you say that? Dad's voice rose. She's your sister. My sister died the day you chose her over me. This woman is a stranger who happens to share my DNA. The confrontation was just beginning. We never chose her over you, Mom protested. Really? Then where was my college fund? Where was my scholarship? Where were you when I was sleeping in my car during that ice storm because I couldn't afford rent? They exchanged glances. They hadn't known about the car. We thought you were strong enough to handle things on your own, Dad said quietly. I was 17. You always seemed so capable. I was capable because I had to be, because you never gave me a choice. Isabella appeared at my elbow. Nora, your 2 p.m. is here. I looked at this young woman, brilliant, ambitious, everything I'd been at her age. But she had mentors. She had support. She had people who believed in her potential instead of just her ability to sacrifice for others. Mom, Dad, I'd like you to meet Isabella. She's one of our program coordinators. Isabella, these are my biological parents. Isabella shook their hands politely. It's nice to meet you. Nora talks about family a lot in her workshops. She does. Mom looked hopeful. Oh yes. About how important it is to choose people who support your dreams instead of stealing them. Dad's face went red. Now wait just a minute. Actually, I interrupted, you need to leave. This is my workplace, and you weren't invited. Nora, please, Mom begged. Amanda needs help. We need help. Help with what? The house. We co-signed some loans for her company. If she can't pay them back, you'll lose it. I know. I read the financial disclosures. We're too old to start over. Please, just consider. The lobby door opened. Amanda walked in. She looked terrible, designer clothes wrinkled, hair unwashed, dark circles under her eyes. But her chin was still up, her shoulders still straight. Still playing the victim, even now. Hello, Nora, she said. We need to talk. Get out, I said. Amanda stepped further into the lobby. 5 minutes. That's all I need. You need a lot more than 5 minutes. You need a lawyer, a therapist, and probably a miracle. Nora, please, Dad said. Just listen to what she has to say. I've heard enough lies from her to last a lifetime. Our receptionist was staring. Isabella had her phone out, probably recording. This was turning into a scene, and scenes were bad for business. Conference room, I said. 5 minutes. Then you leave. We filed into the small meeting room. Amanda sat across from me, flanked by our parents like bodyguards. The fluorescent lights made her look even worse, pale, hollow-eyed, desperate. You look good, she said. Success suits you. Cut the small talk. What do you want? I want to explain. Explain what? How you committed fraud. How you lied to investors. How you built a company on stolen ideas and fake credentials. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. What wasn't supposed to happen? Getting caught. Amanda's composure cracked. I was trying to make something real. The technology, the company, I thought I could figure it out as I went along. Using my research as your foundation. That was years ago. That was my work. I slammed my hand on the table. My project that you stole. My scholarship that you took. And when that wasn't enough, you kept stealing, from investors, from employees, from anyone stupid enough to trust you. I never meant for it to go this far. But you meant for it to go somewhere. You meant to keep taking credit for things you didn't do. The mask was finally coming off. After all these years, the truth was finally coming out. And I was ready for it. Mom leaned forward. Nora, honey, we know you're angry. Angry. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I'm not angry anymore. Anger is what I felt at 17 when you handed my future to her. This is something else entirely. What is it then? Dad asked. Satisfaction. The word hung in the air like smoke. You're satisfied that your sister is suffering. Mom's voice was barely a whisper. I'm satisfied that the truth finally came out. That her house of cards finally collapsed. That for once in her life, she's facing consequences for her actions. She could go to prison, Dad said. Good. Maybe she'll learn something there that you never taught her at home. Amanda finally spoke up. You really hate me that much? I don't hate you. I nothing you. You're irrelevant to my life. Then help us, she said, leaning forward. You have money now, connections. You could. I could what? Bail you out? Clean up your mess? Enable you one more time? You could save the family. What family? I stood up. The family that told me I should be grateful to watch my sister succeed with my work? The family that never called when I was struggling? The family that only shows up when they need something? We're still your parents, Mom said, crying now. Biologically, yes. But parents are supposed to protect their children, support their dreams, love them unconditionally. You did none of those things for me. We loved you, Dad protested. You loved the idea of me. The responsible one, the one who wouldn't make waves, the one who would sacrifice everything for family unity. I walked to the window, looking out at the street where people were living their normal lives. But you never loved me, the real me, the one with dreams and ambitions and feelings. That's not true, Mom sobbed. Then where were you when I graduated valedictorian from community college? Where were you when I got into graduate school? Where were you when I won the Morrison Fellowship? Where were you when my TEDx talk went viral? Silence. You don't even know about any of that, do you? Because you never cared enough to find out. Amanda cleared her throat. The house is not my problem. Mom and Dad will figure it out. They made their choice when they co-signed your loans. Actions have consequences. You taught me that lesson very well. Please. Amanda's voice cracked. I'm begging you. You're begging me. I turned back to face her. Do you remember what you said when I begged you not to take my scholarship? When I begged you to tell the truth about the science project? She looked away. You said it was yours now. That I should be proud of your success. That family meant sacrifice. I sat back down, leaning across the table. Well, congratulations. You're about to learn what sacrifice really means. Nora, Dad said, we raised you better than this. No, you didn't. You raised me to be a doormat, to give and give until there was nothing left. But I raised myself to be something else entirely. What's that? Mom asked. Someone who knows her worth. Someone who doesn't accept scraps from people who should love her most. Someone who builds her own table instead of begging for a seat at yours. I stood up again. Your 5 minutes are up. We're not done, Amanda started. Yes, you are. All of you. You're done taking from me, done using me, done expecting me to fix the problems you created. I opened the conference room door. Isabella, please escort my guests out and make sure they understand they're not welcome back. Of course, Isabella said, appearing immediately. As they filed out, Mom turned back one last time. You've changed, Nora. Yes, I have. I've changed into someone who won't let you destroy her twice. The door closed behind them. Through the window, I watched them get into Dad's Honda. Amanda was gesturing wildly, probably still trying to convince them this was somehow my fault. My phone buzzed. Text from Amanda, this isn't over. I showed it to Isabella. What do you think she means? I think she means she's desperate enough to try anything, Isabella frowned. Be careful, Nora. Desperate people do desperate things. She was right, but I'd been preparing for this fight my whole life. Let Amanda try her worst. I wasn't 17 anymore. 5 years later, I stood in the gleaming greenhouse that crowned Bloom's new headquarters. The dedication ceremony had drawn 500 people. Donors, community leaders, the women we'd trained and mentored. Sunlight streamed through the glass walls, illuminating the thriving plants that represented hope, growth, and possibility. This greenhouse represents victory, I told the crowd. Not over people, but over the systems that tried to keep us small. In the audience, I spotted Carmen, beaming with pride. Rosa from the old Denny's, now serving on our board. Professor Williams, who'd become a mentor and friend. Isabella, now our executive director, brilliant and fierce and everything I'd hoped she'd become. After the ceremony, a young woman approached me, maybe 18, with nervous eyes and a manila folder clutched in her hands. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said. "I'm Katie. I was hoping to apply for the mentorship program." "Of course. What's your background?" "Biology major. First in my family to go to college." She hesitated. "My parents think I should be more practical. Maybe switch to business or something more stable." I smiled. "Let me guess. They say you're smart, but you should be realistic about your dreams." Her eyes widened. "How did you know?" "Lucky guess. Come on. Let me show you around." As we walked through the greenhouse together, talking about environmental justice and the power of persistence, I thought about that 17-year-old girl who'd lost everything and found herself. They'd wanted me to disappear so Amanda could shine. Instead, I'd learned to burn like the sun, impossible to ignore, essential for growth, and bright enough to help others find their way out of the dark. The invisible daughter was invisible no more.